Welcome. Welcome in series for UGC NET English Literature. Our today's topic is William Wordsworth. How to read William Wordsworth is the point we are going to talk. For English literature, we know Romantic era is most important age as it cover minimum 5 questions. And representative poet of the age is William Wordsworth. So there are two things that we have to remember: who is representative poet of the age and who is representative poet of England. When we are speaking about representative poet of the age, then it is William Wordsworth, as he is representing the age, as he is the most popular poet. When we are speaking about a representative poet of England, then it is always poet laureate of England. It is either Pai or Sude. These are the two representative poets of England at that time in Romantic era. Poet laureate often changes with the time, and once they become poet laureate, they become the representative poet of England. Simply. In case of William Wordsworth, students generally do simple mistake. They focus too much on his personal details, where he was born, what was his father's occupation, what was his mother, where he studied, and at what year or which year he was born, in which year he died. These things are not important for UGC perspective, although you can study them or remember them for your deeper knowledge. But deeper knowledge of such kind is not important, or not important for UGC perspective. You have to focus on journal terms, and the first journal terms we have is lyrical ballads. The lyrical ballads, which is a poet's contribution to English literature, or the first book that we can say with which Romantic era begins. It was in collaboration with S.T. Coleridge, Samuel Tyler Coleridge, and Coleridge wrote 4 poems in it. The very first book that opened lyrical ballads was of Coleridge, The Rime of Ancient Mariner, which is also the largest or longest poem of the collection. In that sense, you can say the first poet of Romantic era is Wordsworth, and the second definitely goes to S.T. Coleridge. But the poetry collection which open Romantic era is that of S.T. Coleridge, not of Wordsworth. So Wordsworth poem closes the segment of lyrical ballads. In case of Wordsworth, when we are checking, we have to remember when the publication of this lyrical ballad, 1797. The same year, just 3 years later, we have another version, that is lyrical ballad 1800, but in it there were no poems of S.T. Coleridge. So there were total 4 lyrical ballads collection, and only in the first collection S.T. Coleridge gave his poems, and rest of all poems of all lyrical ballads of William Wordsworth only. And second point is the preface to lyrical ballad, that is given in 1800 collection. It defined the line and length of William's poetry, how to read, what was theme of his poetry, and so on. In this way we can find different kind of segment in his poetry: rustic life, overflow of powerful feelings, recollection in tranquility, and so on. And these themes come against the elite police and heroic couplet or city based poetry of Augustan era, or 18th century, or more generally age of Alexander Pope. So these poets reject these type of poetry, and they focus more on the natural life. That is why whether it is Tintin Abbey, Lucy poem, World is Too Much With Us, all are connecting dots with this, and mostly all poets nearly follow the same thing. All means romantic poets. And when we are going to speak about William Wordsworth, we just going to check his poetry, and for it I am having this poetry collection, 15 poets. It is published by Oxford University Press, and that is very old collection, Oxford 15 poets. And here several poems of William Wordsworth are given, and that first poem that we have here in collection is Lucy Gray. So Lucy Gray is one of the most important poem, and when we are reading William Wordsworth's Lucy poem, then we should remember at least the opening line, and it has, "Of I heard of Lucy Gray." And if you have Lucy Gray, then definitely you come to know that this is definitely the poem Lucy Gray. And in that we also having different connection. "Lady of my town" or "my own" is the ending line of the poem, and in this way Lucy poem can be identified very easily that it is of William Wordsworth. And the question that can be asked from this poem is, how does Lucy Gray died, or is she died from the jump, by jumping from the bridge, or is it she caught in storm? So you have to take care of this, like it is expected that she hasn't jumped, rather atmosphere was too rigid, too harsh, too cold that she could not count her step, or she do not recognize the way back to home, and she was by mistake drowned in the pond, which was a kind of bridge or river something, and she died over there. And this shows that how man have created their own kind of things, destructive things. And another an important poem that we have is "To the Cuckoo." It is a poem that shows love of William Wordsworth towards birds. So birds are often very important. They are associated with the different poets. For example, the cuckoo is associated with William Wordsworth, and this question is asked many times. Cuckoo is associated with Wordsworth. Dove is associated with John Keats, and even nightingale, and then skylark, P.V. Shelley. So in that sense, these poets are associated with different words, and there can be word like nightingale is associated with, it can be different poets also, and you have to choose in that. And cuckoo, the very opening line we have to remember from this cuckoo poem also: "Oh belittle newcomer I have here." This is the opening line, and we have to remember this, and the very ending line: "That is fit home for thee." And this is how it is defining the thing, like opening and ending line of poem at least is must. And this is for this poem. If you go with Daffodils, Daffodils is also very important, and we have seen that sometime it asks how many stanzas the poem have. It is simply 4 stanzas, and 6 line each. uh, 4 stanzas, 6 line each, 24 lines. And Daffodils is a kind of poem. "I wandered lonely as a cloud" is the very opening line, and dances with the daffodils. And daffodil, in the last line there is daffodil, so you can easily identify that there is this poem is from William Wordsworth, Daffodils. But the opening line make it more important. Sometime opening line are also given, so "I wandered lonely as a cloud" can be used. And then the most important poem is ode, uh, composed a few miles above Tinton Abbey. That is, sometime full title is given, and sometime it is asked on which date the poem was composed, and the time is July 13, 1798, just 1 year after Lyrical Ballad appeared. So it was composed at that time but published later on. And it opens with the very important line: "5 years have passed." And these 5 years are most important thing. And sometime the question comes, "those beauteous forms." This line comes from the poem, and that is Tinton Abbey. And here the most important line that comes is about the childhood that William Wordsworth has, and this poem is divided into three segments. So you have to see it, and the last thing that it is a promise made to his sister that nature never betray the heart of those who loved it, and nature is a worshipper. uh, 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 William Wordsworth is presented as a worshipper of nature, and from this line you can present him as a romantic but nature poet. And the another thing that we have to remember, we in Wordsworth poetry, nature is always capital N. Nature N means it is presented as a noun. And the most important poem that we have, sometime question comes from it, is the world is too much with us. And opening line is simply, world is too much with us, and the sea that bears bosom to the moon is very important line, that is from the same poem. Question also come from this line. And the very yeah, this is only from it. And another important poem that we have in William Wordsworth is the Sultry Reaper. And the Sultry Reaper, behold her single in the field, is opening line, and most important is the last line, long after it was heard no more. And questions also asked from this thing. And this is the poem where the Arabian Saints are mentioned, and it is important in that way that among Arabian Saints a voice so thrilling never was heard. So in that sense, you have to check this poem in this perspective also. And another important poem is Imitation of Immortality, Recollection from Early Childhood. So the thing is that either it is Tinton Abbey or Intimation Ode. You have to remember the full title of these poems. Sometime it is asked, or the year when they are composed. And the first line, there was a time when meadow, grove and stream. This is the poem. And the most important line, this the poem opens with three lines that state, child is the father of man. This is one of most popular quotation of William Wordsworth, and several, you can find it in several newspapers often quoting, and many movies and cinemas are often using this line. So you can have this line in memory, that it is from Imitation Ode. And the very opening line we discuss, and it is one of the longest poem of William Wordsworth, when you are having, and ye fountain, meadow, hills and groves, forbode not any serving of our loves. These are the things that we have to keep in mind. And the very last line, by day and were a trouble to my dreams, prelude. This Note, this is not last line. Thoughts that do often lie too deep for tears is the ending line of the poem. And this we have to remember. And in this way we have seen several poem of William Wordsworth, and all are saying one thing, that he was a nature poet. And another points that we have to remember, when William Wordsworth became poet laureate of England, and it was the year 1842 or 3, perhaps 3. And who was before him poet laureate, and it was Robert Southey. And who became poet laureate after him, William Wordsworth, and that is Alfred Lord Tennyson. In this way, you have to check some opening line, ending line, when he became poet laureate, and what is the year of poem written or composed, what is full title of his poems, and to which themes, like Tinton Abbey divided into three parts, you have to see which part is related to what. And in similarly, which type of early childhood recollection the Imitation Ode is showing, and especially the birds, which bird is associated with which poet. And the year opening year of A's, as well as the importance of William Wordsworth with him, and why he bring poetry for common people. And another important question that we often see is from preface to Lyrical Ballads. Several quotations are important. Recollection of tranquil recollection of thing, and imitation, such kind of words you can use through it. But overall, despite these quotation, you have to see how Wordsworth is presented in a text. So for it, you need at least 5 questions to crack UGC net, and it is expected that at least one question could come from him. So if you have some 5 to 7 poems, and on that ground if you can achieve at least one question, that would be good. And as you know, UGC net is sometime defeated students unable to crack by one question. So if you prepare one writer at least strongly, then chances are very ample that you could crack exam. And this is what we have for segment William Wordsworth. We will come again another poet for UGC net. And if you like video, do like it, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. And thank you for being us and showing confidence in us. Thank you.